Hey guys, it's me, your favorite person ever. Not really. Call me Dino. And I get this maybe unexpected because I wasn't planning on filming a video for a little bit until I did Nightwing 3, obviously. But I went to a comic shop and I picked something great up. And I just had to make a video about it because I found out the tragic story of what happened to it. Thor the Mighty Avenger by Roger Landbridge and Chris Samney. This book is absolutely spectacular, but I'll get into the reasons I was sad later in this video. Get to the intro. Thank you, editing Jackson, but again, I may seem sad this video. It's because I am. Because this spectacular book was canceled at 8 issues. That sounds insane, okay? This book has great art, great story, it's very slice of life. But I found out Marvel canceled it due to sales issues. You have to be kidding me. Because this book does so much on so many levels. It has unexpected team-ups that you wouldn't get in a typical ongoing. It's just so good. Also, I'm filming this on 4th of July. So if you do hear, what's it called, fireworks, that's why. But today in this video, we're going to be talking about how they could bring this thing back. It's never going to happen, but we're going to talk about how they could bring it back, and maybe some ways that they could bring it back. Who knows? Okay, so starting out, before any of you guys put me on a stake or something, put your pitchforks up. I'm only on issue 4 of this mini-series. It's 8 issues, but simple as that, it's okay, because I'm halfway through the series, and it doesn't seem like there's any plot, enhancements, but I do know that there are some characters that do appear in the series, sadly. But starting off, I do know that he's still on Earth by the end of the series, which is something that I think they were going to explore later on in the series if it was to be a longer series, which is what we're talking about today. But the first arc I have envisioned of this planned revival, which I envision each arc to be at least 4 issues or so. Starting off, this first arc is called the Forgetting arc. And you may be asking yourself, what is this about? What it would be about is Jane and Thor travel across America together, helping people on their journey to try to help Thor realize that being on Earth doesn't suck. But as the arc would progress, he would fight some new villains and all that. There would be some guest stars, like maybe Spider-Man. They meet him in New York, and it's because I think the series is set in Oklahoma. Yep, it's set in Oklahoma. I think it'd be cool if we see a little Spider-Man cameo and we get him fighting some villain of his. That is a giant firework I just heard. And maybe an issue with the X-Men, who knows, because no mentions of them were in here. I'm flicking with the book. But in the last 2 issues of this arc, somebody comes down to Earth. Odin, and most of Asgard itself. And Thor is pretty distraught, but all he remembers is that this guy was his dad. He doesn't remember anything else. I look like Greg Heffley. He doesn't realize anything. He doesn't really know how he, came to be. All he knows is he came to Earth one day, and that's it. But Odin is pretty mad that he forgot he came from Asgard. So it doesn't make a big fight, but it does ensue a argument between the two, where Odin talks about how you're on this planet and you forgot your roots. You forgot who we made you to be. I sent you here as a punishment, and you forgot your punishment and decided to go along with these weaklings. And Thor, he realizes Asgard isn't his home anymore. As Jane once told him, this is your home right now as well. And Thor realizes, this is where I want to be. This is the home I want to be in. This is where I want to stay. But if you want to take me back, you can try. And Odin realizes, damn, we put a pretty good argument up. Yo, low-key, son, I'll just pop in every once in a while. Peace, peace. Just fades away, and he's like rises up into the clouds. But Arc 2 would be something more interesting and more aligned with the comics, which I'm really excited about. Enchantress would be in this arc. This arc is called Enchantment. It would last another 4 issues, and this is about, obviously, the Enchantress and Executioner being in this arc, but more of Jane's struggles as well. Because I've noticed something reading the original 8 issues. Some of the issues do feature Thor more prevalently. Mostly issue 4, because issue 4 is most certainly a Thor featured issue, because Jane's only in a couple panels of it. Jane is the prominent character in this series. She's not a supporting character. Thor is the supporting character. He may be the title character, but for the first couple of issues, she is pretty prominent in the story. And I feel like if they wanted to indeed revive this series, they want to keep some of that essence of the original story in there. And that's what I like, because Thor is a side character in his own story, and we can focus more on the character who doesn't get much love if they're not a superhero or someone who's gonna get fridged. If you don't know that term, it means love interest who's gonna get killed just for the male character to be pushed ahead in the plot. By the way, that's from a Green Lantern comic when Kyle Rayner's love interest got fridged. She got and stuck in a fridge. Yeah, anyways, back to the Marvel stuff. But it's interesting how Thor gets sidelined in his own comic for Jane to be the main character. And I feel like if they wanted to continue it, I'm doing a run-on sentence right now, but she's an interesting character, and I'd love to see what she could do more and if she had more of the spotlight. So they finally go back to Oklahoma, and Thor realizes, yeah, this is my home. And Jane is like, yup, yes it is. And they kissed once, by the way. I don't know if that means they have romantic feelings for each other, but safe to say they're going to start dating at some point during this arc. But in issues, like at least a future issue of this arc, they argue. Thor he wants this to be his home, and Jane, she would love to stay with Thor, but she wants to move on to do new things. But Thor is really tying her down. But by the end of the arc, she realizes Thor is not a burden. He's a person to love. It's a very interesting way to emulate how Jane feels, because in the earlier issues, she was talking with her ex-boyfriend, she talks about how they both have the same ideals, and then their ideals changed as time went on, and he got married to his job, basically, and she had to focus on smaller things, and that's just a really important part. Anyways, time to talk about the villains. Enchantress and Executioner would still be in the story prominently. They'd be, progressing their way to Oklahoma to fight him, and the funny thing is, once they finally get there, it's like the fight barely lasts even. She may be a sorcerer and all that, but hammer smacks her in the head. She gets knocked out. Executioner runs up with a giant axe for some reason. Thor, the power of love. and then Executioner gets like launched all the way to like, I don't know, freaking Arkansas or something. Arkansas. What? Arkansas. I meant to say Arkansas. Oh, my neck just felt all of that. But then for the third and final arc. This may seem long, like, you're really doing another 12 issues? Yes. That's how much I missed this. I wasn't, like, this is a perfect beginner run for Thor. Final arc is the Rainbow Bridge arc. This arc's main villain is actually someone who was teased in the beginning issues. Loki. This may sound interesting to you, but Loki has barely been anything in this series. So I think if he were to be in this series, it would be most prominent in the final couple of issues. So the entire arc is them going to an area that would be close enough to Asgard. And they arrive there, but Loki's there, and he's like, we're not going to let you back in. You chose this fate, and we'll never let you in. And he, like, sort of just does this thing that, like, makes, it just hurts his head because, like, it hurts Thor's head, and it's, like, mind controlling him to, like, leave. But all it takes is Jane pulling on his cape and telling him to not leave, that the real Thor breaks out of the mind control. Odin and all of Asgard stands at the Rainbow Bridge, Thor in the middle, Jane pulling him behind. One versus all. Don't go, Thor, she tells him. Jane, I would love to stay, but Asgard needs me. But then, something clocks in his head. All of the times Thor and Jane spent together. All of the fun they had while he was there. When they were shopping. When they stopped Dr. Hyde. He realizes he wants to be and stay with Jane. He turns towards Jane. He says, I'll stay. He faces all of Asgard and says, I'm gonna stay on Earth. And Odin and all of Asgard, including his friends, look in pure despair. Odin says, I thought you wanted to come home. Thor looks at him, determined, and says, well, this is my home now. As the Rainbow Bridge slowly falls away, Thor kisses Jane. Cut to years later. Not years, maybe a year later. And it's them back in Bergen, Oklahoma. They watch TV as suddenly an alien spaceship falls in the center of Bergen, Oklahoma. Thor finally takes out the old Mjolnir that he hasn't used in a long time. He goes out, and guess what comes out of the ship? An orange alien with a horse-like mouth, standing there with red armor, confused where it is. Thor activates his, armor, points Mjolnir at him, asks, "Who are you?" The alien wipes his face and says, "My name is Beta Ray Bill." End of series. Absolute cinema. Yup, that's how I would end the final arc of my continuation of this. I think could be retitled The Mighty Avenger Thor. Like, it says Thor the Mighty Avenger. What if you shift that up and make it the top title? But that's how I would do a continuation of Roger Landbridge and Chris Samnee's Thor 8-issue miniseries. And what you might say, yeah, some Avengers would be in there. They are sprinkled in the beginning of the arc. It'd be really cool if it actually ended with the Avengers forming and he has to say goodbye to Jane. But I left this open just in case I did want to do a second video about this, because with the way that ended, safe to say, I might want to do a part 2. So, this was your boy, call me Dino, and unexpected video, but I'll see you guys next time. Peace, peace.